नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. So this is the 15th session of Shri Bhakti Loka by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we have been discussing till now. We have completed 4 essays by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur on Atyahara, Prayasa, Prajalpa and Niyama. So last week we completed Niyama Graha, and today we are going to start the 5th obstacle towards progressing on the path of devotional service, which is Jana Sangha, unfavorable association. So today we will start discussing on this very important topic, which is actually repeated twice. Janasanga and Sangatyaga. Sangatyagat sato vritte shadbir bhaktir prasidhyati. So in this way, if you see, avoiding unfavorable association is mentioned twice because it is that important. Asat sangatyagaye vaishnava achar. So therefore, today we will discuss on this theme. But before we start today's discussion, I'll request Radha Pramod Prabhu to do a recap of what we have seen last week, and then we will start today's discussion. Over to you, Prabhu. Thank you.
ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. हरे कृष्ण. So just a small recap so that it will remain in our memory. So we have discussed many other aspects. So some of the few things from Prabhupada and Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj and Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Anubhashya, what we discussed on Niyamagraha, we will try to recap them. Niyamagraha, those who are qualified for Bhakti don't have to think in terms of Dharma Adharma. They think in terms of what is Anukul Pratikul for their Bhakti. So in Bhagavatam, the devotees are not obliged to follow the rules of Karma, Jnana, but sometimes they may follow if they find some of those rules favorable for their Bhakti. In that case, it should not be thought that they are committing Niyamagraha. So basically, we are always trying to look in terms of what is favorable for our Krishna conscious and what is unfavorable for Krishna conscious. So that is the most important rule that devotees follow. The conclusion is that the practitioners attain a higher level as a result of following the rules prescribed according to his qualifications. So this is applicable for all categories of people: karma nishtha, gyan nishtha and all. Even within bhakti also we have certain rules we have to follow according to our qualification. And Srila Prabhupada, what he's speaking of Niyamagraha. So agraha means eagerness to accept. Niyamagraha, accepting some of the scripture rules and regulations for immediate benefit and not for the highest benefit. And he says agraha means failure to accept. Niyam agraha, neglecting the shastric rules and regulations that are meant for spiritual development. And then he says those interested in Krishna consciousness should not be eager to accept rules and regulations for dharma, artha, kama and moksha. And devotees are not bound by rules of dharma shastras, jnana shastras, etc. They should very faithfully accept scriptural rules and regulations for advancement of Krishna consciousness. They are not bound by the rules of dharma shastras and jnana shastras, but they are bound by the rules of bhakti shastras. So this is what Prabhupada speaks. And then we have commentary by Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, where he says for Niyamagraha, too much affinity to abide by the law and not willing to abide by the laws. So this is how he made us understand. And he says we should follow the middle path, the easy path. What is that? Not the extreme. Yuktahara viharasya. It's all regulated. And Niyamagraha means to give abnormal attention to any particular ruling. Like example is given Ekadasi. We may say, oh, I'll follow very firm Ekadasi. I'll not even take a drop of water. No, But the general rule is that I must keep my body fit. So that is very important, so that I can render service to the Lord. So I may take little water. And then a devotee, there is another example, is like if a devotee steals a flower, but if he has a sincere vision that everything belongs to Krishna, then it is not stealing. He knows it's Krishna's property and it is for Krishna. But we should also be careful that we are representing an organization. So we must be very careful not to steal, as it can bring bad name to our organization. If at all we have to steal, we must be 100% sure that it is only for Krishna, not for our sense gratification. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's Anuvritti commentary, where he says, Niyam Agraha, he says, attachment to rules of Karma Shastras or Jnana Shastras for someone qualified for Bhakti. So we should not follow them, then it becomes Niyamagraha for us. And Niyamagraha is indifferent to rules that are prescribed for the attainment of Bhakti, is known as Niyamagraha. This is the example of Sahajas. They don't follow anything like that. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur quotes from Kalyana Karpataru to criticize Sahajas. He says, Sahajas prematurely think themselves to be qualified for Raganuga sadhana and do not follow any rules for Vaidhi sadhana. Thus, they neglect the rules of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and are guilty of committing Niyamagraha. Thus, they cheat themselves and just attain misery in the end. So, for him, he gives an advice for the Sahajas. He says, the most sacred and pure Krishna Prem is extremely rare. First, make yourselves fit to perform sadhana. You will have to first give up the 10 offenses against the holy name and chant the Harinam continuously. You should hear Harikatha in the association of pure Vaishnavas. You have to become intoxicated. You have become intoxicated by uselessly considering Kama to be Prema. So then what you have to do? At present, Prema is the dormant condition being covered by Kama. Therefore, you must endeavor to dispel this lust and to initiate the awakening of love. Don't fear to take the step-by-step method of sadhana. Don't jump. Go step by step. And by hearing Harikatha and performing Harinam Kirtan in the association of pure devotees, Shraddha is matured and evolves successfully into Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, from Asakti to Bhava, and it makes its appearance, and the Bhava Prema is manifested. And Prema may be obtained only by taking support of this progressive evolution and never by any other means. So we should not be Niyamagraha and Niyamagraha also. We should be balanced, and in that way we will make progress. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was very nice summary of what we saw last time. So today we will start our discussion on the fifth fault, which is Jana Sangha, or association with worldly minded persons. So, but before we start that discussion, if there are any quick discussion points, comments, questions from what we discussed last week and summarize this week, I will pause for a few seconds to see if anyone would like to share something, add something, or ask something. There is one thing in the chat box. Who is Srila Bhakti Rakshak Siddhar Swami Maharaj? Srila Bhakti Rakshak Siddhar Swami Maharaj is one of the closest god brothers of Srila Prabhupada. He was whom Prabhupada accepted as almost like a Shiksha Guru and should take a lot of guidance from him. If you have read Srila Prabhupada's Leela, there is a lot of description about Bhakti Rakshak Siddhar Swami Maharaj. Okay, anything else anyone would like to share, ask? Yes, Arpita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, actually, I wanted to ask that once you were discussing this thing that I don't know if it was in Padma Puran or Skand Puran somewhere, that Lord tells about offering flowers and fruits. So he tells different standards. So he tells that the highest standard is that we should have a separate garden for Lord, and then the second is that in our own private garden we grow, and then third is that we take from a forest, and then the very fourth is to buy.
Yeah.
And this stealing, is
Is
not
for
allowed only.
not only allowed, not at
Uh,
all allowed. Yeah.
so then when Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he is telling that if some devotee has sincere vision that everything belongs to Krishna, and he can he can steal. So is I couldn't understand, Prabhuji.
Context.
Hmm.
Where are the acharyas shining the light that you have to see? So,
Uh,
so the light is not shown on the aspect of stealing. The light is the point is, if someone is very clear that everything belongs to Krishna, so he is not a habitual thief, but what he is doing may be perceived as theft by common people, but someone who is on that level is where Stavar Jamadeki Nadeki Taramurti. So whatever he sees that belonging to Krishna. So he's not even realizing that he is stealing. He's talking about that kind of a person. Whereas Padma Puran, that Padma Puran is talking about not people of that level.
So yes, Prabhuji. So that was also my question. That now this instruction given in Padma Puran, is it for like people who are following dharma and like that, or is it for devotees also? So
It is for,
because
you can say it is definitely very much relevant for sadhakas
hmm,
also. But
sadhakas also. Okay.
when Tirakshak Siddhar Swami Maharaj is talking about someone stealing, he's not talking about
Hmm,
sadhakas.
hmm,
Because
hmm, hmm,
sakas
hmm,
don't see everything as belonging to Krishna. That's a highly theoretical thing for them. So, but a siddha, when he steals, or when when a perfected devotee, he just goes and picks up something from somewhere and
hmm,
offers it to the Lord, you
hmm,
cannot criticize him. So,
hmm, hmm,
he is beyond that level. So, but for those who are within a sadhaka cannot think that he can steal and offer to the Lord,
hmm,
because a sadhaka not have that perception of very clearly seeing everything as belonging to Krishna. So
hmm.
there is still the false ego of me and mine belonging to me and belonging to someone else. That concept, for those who are there, they cannot steal.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Yes, Prabhuji. Actually, stealing in itself is very bad, but like stealing a flower means without informing others, we pluck flowers. Sometimes, before I heard from you this Padma Puran shloka, sometimes I also used to pluck flowers, and then I stopped after hearing. But sometimes we don't get, then generally we ask people and we take from there. But because stealing a flower is a very, I think it's a very, it's not a some big theft or something, but still better to take permission and do na, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Better
yeah,
always.
yeah. But in doing that, you are offering a flower, but the person
Hmm.
who has lost the flower, he has become
Hmm.
inimical to the devotees and the Supreme
Yeah.
Lord.
Yes. Then it's loss only. Yeah. For
Yeah.
him. Yeah. Not good.
So,
But
so,
Prabhuji,
so
it is
that's,
also said that since that person might, if he's very attached to the flowers, he will become inimical. Or if he is normal and not so much like if there are 10 flowers on the tree and we take only two for Krishna, then he might not mind like that.
if
Uh,
he does not mind, then we must well ask and take the flowers.
ask, and yeah, that is better. But Prabhuji, like sometimes what like if we are plucking the flowers, like not like in my college now in mornings, 5 o'clock when everyone used to sleep, that time I used to go and pluck, because at that time, so Prabhuji, I'm thinking if we don't pluck all the flowers, but if we just take some flowers, uh, but uh, but now that plant will get the benefit now if it is offered to Krishna. And also those people since they are maintaining that plant, they are watering that plant and everything, and so they will also get a benefit, na Prabhuji? They will get some
Well,
sukriti.
they will, but if they willingly give those words, they will get
They will get
very,
more.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
yes,
if
yes.
one day they decide to wake up early in the morning, they're feeling thirsty.
Ha
So
ha
they
ha
woke
ha.
up early in the morning, there's
Yeah,
someone
yes.
plucking flower from their garden. So that
Hmm.
then it will be a
Yeah,
cause
that
of
is
serious.
then not good. Yeah. Okay, Prabhuji, understood. After hearing this Padma Puran, this thing from you, I never did that before only. But I thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice explanation. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Anything else anyone would like to share? Ask before we move on to today's topic of Jana Sangha or association with worldly minded people. Anything anyone would like to share? Okay. If there is nothing, then we will continue our discussion. So the fifth obstacle to progressing on the path of devotional service is Jana Sangha, association with worldly minded persons. This is probably the most deadliest of obstacles. That's why in it is mentioned twice, despite the problem of being redundant. Srila Rupa Goswami mentions it twice because it is so important actually. Mm, So he says that he of the six unfavorable things, he says association with worldly minded persons is unfavorable. And then in the six favorable things, he says giving up the association of worldly minded persons is favorable. So which means it is more or less repetition. He is repeating, but still, despite the problem of repeating, he mentions it twice. Avoid the association of worldly minded persons. Janasanga. So he says that the word jana means both male and female human beings. So Srila Rupa Goswami has written in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, sadhu-sanga sovare. A devotee should associate with devotees who are more advanced. So ideally, one should seek out more advanced association. Okay. So generally, the practicing devotees are superior to karmis and jnanis in all respects. So sometimes we may see very, very cultured non-devotees and very uncultured devotees. So, so here, therefore, he is talking about the general understanding is that practicing devotees, he is not talking about perfected devotees. So practicing devotees means they may be conditioned, okay, are superior to karmis and jnanis. Generally, if someone is qualified for jnana, there is practically no conditioning, because unless by proper practice of karma, when a person removes all kinds of material conditions, such a person is not qualified for the practice of jnana. So here he is telling that a practicing devotee who may be conditioned, who may not be free from all kinds of conditionings, his association is superior to the association of karmis and jnanis. In all respects, he says, in all respects. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Yesham tu antagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrataha. But those whose sins have been destroyed by acts raising to the great souls, who are free of the ignorance arising from duality, worship me with determination. So generally, um, devotees do not have a mentality to sin. Their value system does not encourage them to sin. They all know that committing a sinful activity is absolutely bad. even though sometimes their conditioning may not allow them to always, mm, refrain from acting inappropriately, but nevertheless, their value system is definitely very strongly rooted. Therefore, he says devotees are naturally pure. So here, naturally pure means they have a very clear understanding of uh, activities which are favorable and unfavorable for bhakti. Okay, they are naturally pure means they have a very clear understanding. Okay, they may lack the capacity to always follow their ideal standard. Okay, they may lack the capacity to always follow the ideal standard, but they have a clear understanding of what is the ideal standard, what is right and what is wrong. They know very clearly. Therefore, they have a very pure faith. Their faith is very pure. Okay. So why they may lack the capacity to always follow the ideal standard? Due to their conditioning. But despite having a very impure conditioning, they are called as naturally pure because their faith is very pure. Their faith is pure. There is no possibility for them to commit sin willfully, of course. Right? They are not less intelligent than the karmis and jnanis because they have taken shelter at the lotus feet of the omniscient supreme Lord. Udara sarva eva jnani tvatmaiva me matam. So it is mentioned that all these artho, artharthi, jigyasu, jnani, these four kinds of people, chaturvida bhajante mam. All these four kinds of people who worship Krishna are said to be udara. They have very magnanimous intelligence. But worshippers of demigods, they are called as uh, alpamedasam. So they are called as alpamedasam. Uh, what is that verse? Anyone remembers that verse? Uh, uh, what is that verse which says alpamedasam? There are many such verses, but I'm just trying to recollect. It's a famous verse. Anyone remembers what is that verse which says alpamedasam? I'm not able to recollect. If anyone is able to help me out. First, one or two words also, if you can just. Antavattu phalam tesham tavatyalmedasam. Devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. This is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Antavattu phalam tesham bhavati alpamedasam. Those devotees, those worshippers of demigod, they attain antavattu phalam. They get only temporary benefits from worshipping the demigods. They don't get any permanent benefits. Therefore, they are called as alpamedasam. They have very meager intelligence. But worshippers of Krishna, even if they may not worship Krishna for for Krishna prema, it may even be for some material results, but still they are said to be udara. They are magnanimous intelligence. or as Bhagavatam says, akama sramo va mokshakama udaradihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So, you know, it is mentioned that akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udaradihi. Even a sarvakami and a mokshakami are said to be udaradihi, of people of magnanimous intelligence, if uh, mm, uh, tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. If by jnana karmadi anavrita bhakti they worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then they are said of magnanimous intelligence. Even though such people are worshipping Krishna for material results or for mukti, but still they are called, people with magnanimous intelligence, because they know whom they should approach, right? So he says, faith in the devotional service of Lord Krishna is achieved as a result of many lifetimes of pious activities. Okay, so this pious activities is actually agyata sukriti. So agyata sukriti. Okay, many lifetimes of accumulation of agyata sukriti leads to faith in devotional service. So, there is no doubt that the devotees' activity are pure. So this is a kind of sukriti. Okay, this is called sukriti. So it is mentioned in the explanation of Manas Siksha that how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that when some when someone comes in touch with a devotee, then gradually over a period of time, by coming in touch with that devotee and experiencing the by vibration of devotional service, gradually the sinful tendencies within their hearts start disappearing, and there slowly but surely, space for faith in devotional service starts manifesting from within their heart. So, and that is what exactly is happening over many lifetimes of accumulation, this agyata sukriti, favorable experiences in Krishna consciousness. Slowly their heart becomes purified and they start developing, the heart becomes free of sins, and there is more space created for faith in Krishna consciousness. So there is no doubt that the devotees' activities are pure. Now, this we have to understand: are all devotees' activities pure? So here we have to understand the activities of sadhaka devotees can be impelled either by their faith and impelled by conditioning. Okay, so when someone says that the devotees' activities are pure, which means all the devotees' activities are performed with pure faith. That's what it means. Okay, even when a devotee is performing an inappropriate activity, he is not responding to his pure faith, but he is succumbing to his impure conditioning. Okay, so therefore, even an activity, an inappropriate activity performed by a sadhaka is with pure faith only, but it is the impure act is a byproduct of his impure conditioning. Okay, so there is, I always give this example. There was a devotee who was addicted to smoking cigarettes. So before he came to Krishna consciousness, he was a complete chain smoker, completely addicted to smoking cigarettes. But after he became a devotee, it took quite some time for him to overcome that conditioning of smoking. So whenever he would smoke, tears would be flowing from his eyes. Okay, so here Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling that there is no doubt that the devotee's activities are pure, which means here smoking is an impure activity. So even though the devotee is engaged in impure activity of smoking, but still the devotee is said to be pure in the sense his faith is pure. Even though some of his activities may be impelled by his impure conditioning, as Arjuna says, Atakena prayuktoyam papam cha purushaha anichannapi varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. So he's asking, what is pushing me to act in a way to perform sinful activities, even though I am unwilling to perform that sinful activity? What is pushing me to perform those sinful activities? Arjuna is asking. And Krishna says, Kamayesha Kadayesha Rajoguna Samudbhavan. So he says like that. So the point is that even when Arjuna is performing that inappropriate activity, he says, oh, I don't want to do it, which means his faith is pure, which says that you should not be doing it, but even though the conditioning may sometimes be very strong. So that is the point that he is indicating here. So therefore, he says that even a devotee suffering from conditioning should his activities should be considered pure, which means even inappropriate activities are performed with pure faith. So that is the understanding. He says, from faith, the desire to associate with devotees naturally arises. So Adau Shraddha, it starts with Shraddha, and Shraddha leads to sadhu-sanga. This is the first symptom of faith. The first symptom of faith is that one develops the desire to associate with devotees. One feels a sense of dependency in the association of devotees. One feels that, my progress on the path of devotional service is helplessly dependent on the association with devotees. This is the symptom of faith. So by associating with devotees, everything is achieved. Therefore, the glories of sadhu-sanga is mentioned in the Adi Purana as follows. Ye me bhakta jana partha, name bhaktas chate jana, mad bhaktanam cha ye bhaktas te me bhakta tamamataha. So Krishna tells Arjuna, Ye me bhakta jana partha, dear Arjuna, those people who say that I am your devotee, name bhaktas chate jana, I don't consider them as my real devotees. Mad bhaktanam cha ye bhaktaha. But those who are the devotees of my servant, te me bhakta tamamataha, they are factually my devotees. So this is what he is telling. that Krishna is telling Arjuna that those who say that I am your devotee, they are not really my devotees. So, so therefore, as it is mentioned that uh, in the Bhagavatam, it says that more dangerous than Yoshit Sangha is Yoshitam Sangi Sangha. More deadly than more deadlier than the association of a woman is the association of a womanizer, one who is habituated to inappropriately associating with women. Their association is even more dangerous than associating with women or opposite sex for that matter. Similarly, he says, just like Yoshitam Sangi Sangha is more dangerous than Yoshit Sangha, similarly, uh, that uh, you know uh, association of devotees is more potent than direct association of Krishna himself. And throughout Bhagavatam, if you see, those devotees who have achieved perfection, who have directly got darshan of the Supreme Lord, um, uh, when the Lord asked, what do you want? What benediction do you want? They said, give me association of devotees. Bhaktim muhu pravahatam tvaime prasango bhuyadananta mahatam amalashayanam yenanja solbanamuru vyasanam bhavabdim neshe bhavad gunakatamritapanamatta. So the great devotees, that even though they have attained the association of Krishna or the Supreme Lord himself, they say that even relishing the association of Krishna is not so relishable. Even the association of Krishna is as relishable with just Krishna as much as it is in the association of devotees. So therefore, the association of devotees is very critical. So further it is meant darshana, sparshana, alapa, saha vasadibikshanat, bhaktaha punanti krishnasya sakshad apicha pukkasham. Pukkasham api, even an outcast, punanti becomes completely pure by darshana, by taking darshana of sparshana, by touching, alapa, by speaking with, saha vasadibihi, by living with Krishnasya bhaktaha sakshat, with Krishna's devotee, kshanad, even for a moment. So this is the potency of associating with even a moment's associate with a devotee. So, and Srimad Bhagavatam further, Prahlad Maharaj says, Naisham matis tavad urukramangrim sprushatyanartha pagamo yadartaha mahiyasam padarajobhishekam nishkinchananam navrinita yavat. Yavad matihi, as long as a person's intelligence navrinita does not accept padarajobhishekam, the dust from the lotus feet of mahiyasam devotees. What kind of devotees? Nishkinchananam, devotees who have no material desires, which means pure devotees. Esham mati, such a person's intelligence, sprushati tavad urukramangrim, do not realize the lotus feet of the Lord. Yadartaha, whose secondary goal is anartha apagamaha, destruction of samsara. So which means as long as one does not, so taking bath in the dust of the lotus feet of devotees means to the first thing means to appreciate them, to appreciate their association, to understand that how one is helplessly dependent on the association of devotees. willingness to serve them. So taking bath in the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees means first to understand one's helpless dependence on the association of devotees, and second thing is therefore have a willingness to serve them, hear from them, and take guidance from them. That is the meaning of taking dust from the lotus feet of the devotees. So as long as one's intelligence does not accept, which means as long as the intelligence thinks in terms of right and wrong, favorable and unfavorable to attain one's goal, as long as we do not see association of devotees as favorable for our progressing on the path of devotional service, till that time we cannot uh, understand or approach the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is the point that is being described here. So the scriptures often state that without the association of the Lord's devotees, Bhakti Devi does not manifest in the heart. So therefore, it is most necessary for sadhakas to associate with devotees. Therefore, in this context, the word Jana Sangha understood to mean persons who are devoid of devotion. So therefore, if someone is devoid of devotion, their association should be avoided, like that. Any quick comments, discussion points, questions before we move further on this topic? Anything you'd like to share? Yes, Mother Gail.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah,
Right.
when you said that it is worse to associate with a person of the opposite sex, who is maturely minded, than it is it's worse to associate with those who have interest, right, in the opposite sex, than to associate with the opposite sex itself, right?
Yeah.
Why is that so?
Yeah. Why is that so? Because when you associate with womanizers, their actions will validate your temptations. So you are tempted for to have a nefarious association, and their action will validate temptation. But if you directly associate with, there may always be that guilt that maybe I'm doing something wrong. But if another person is doing that wrong without any guilt, it removes that guilt from your heart. And when that guilt to perform an unfavorable activity is removed, then what is there to protect us, actually?
Yeah.
So
less impediment. Less impediment to perform more nefarious activity.
Yeah, because if you see him, if he is doing, why can't I do?
Yeah, it reinforces, therefore, your materialistic consciousness, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. It is great answer. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Nitai Mata Mati.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, here it says associate with devotees. How much like-minded devotees and devotees? Yeah, because sometimes I don't know, I have seen that is my experience. If it's not really like-minded, it's not that like-minded means whatever I do nobody corrects me. That is not like-minded. That's not the like-minded I'm thinking of. Even to understand you, and to move forward, it would be much easier to associate with like-minded devotees. So do you want to just elaborate on that, Prabhu? Because it's associate with devotees.
Yeah.
Of course, devotees in the whole, they are very special. Yeah, you understand, I think, where I'm coming.
Yeah. So like-mindedness, as and when we progress on the path of devotional service, the definition of like-mindedness keep changing. So, and it also depends on the availability, ultimately beggars cannot be choosers. So the very basic understanding of like-mindedness is, if someone is a devotee, he is like-minded because he loves to worship Krishna and I love to worship Krishna. There is like-minded association. This is very basic beginning level of like-mindedness. When there is when there are unlimited number of non-devotees and there is only one devotee, then this is the level of like-mindedness that we should see. Here is a devotee, rest are all non-devotees. He is like-minded, rest are all not like-minded. That is the way we look at our understanding of like-mindedness. Now, when that then when there are more than one devotees association, and that devotee may be different sampradaya also, right? He may be from a different sampradaya but worshipper of Vishnu, right? Then when there is more choice, when there is choice between devotees from our sampradaya and other sampradayas, then we choose, oh, here is a devotee who is not just a worshipper of Vishnu, but he is worshipper of Vishnu following same parampara. Similar books, similar teachings. This is the level of like-mindedness. So when there is a choice now between, when there are multiple devotees and there are some devotees who are practicing the teachings of our own sampradaya, then that becomes like-minded. Now let's say you are living in a temple where all the association is devotees from the same sampradaya. Then if you are so, if luxury is available, then we choose, okay, in that case like-minded association could be uh, uh, the association of a person who shares the same definition of success. Someone who to distribute many books, many lot of devotional literature to people is success in devotional service. Or someone thinks that, if I chant many rounds, that is the definition of success. Someone thinks, there could be different, appreciation of different limbs of devotional service, so that could be like-minded association. Okay. And then when someone progresses more and more and goes beyond the stage of Athanavritti and reaches the stage of Nishta, Ruchi, etc., and they develop not just attraction to Krishna, but attraction to Krishna in a particular mood of serving, in one of us. Then like-minded association means associating with those devotees who are aspiring after the same rasa of relationship with Krishna. So therefore, the definition of like-mindedness keeps changing based on our own level of advancement and also based on what is available to us. So we have to recalibrate our expectation of like-mindedness based on what is available, the association that is available. Because otherwise, if you have lot of unrealistic expectation of like-mindedness, when the um, supply is very less than demand, we cannot be too much demanding. We cannot be too much demanding. But when the supply is comparable, when the supply is large superfluous, then you are very lucky. Then you have a choice. Then choose your like-minded association. So we have to be willing to recalibrate our definition of like-mindedness based on the availability of resources in the form of devotee association. I'm not sure if it is clear, but you can share your thoughts.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much. I'll send you a message on the chat. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay. Anything else anyone would like to share as add? Any other questions, comments? No. Okay. Yachi Pramko.
Please accept my most humble obeisance. Regarding the you discuss about the conditioning practicing devotee. Now in the story I read in some of the book of Sachinandan Maharaj that Jagdanand Pandit was telling a sadhaka to remember the story of a Chota Haridas and how Lord Chaitanya reacted to Chota Haridas. The context I am saying that now in today's of media advertising and the mobile and internet availability everywhere, everyone is exposed to many things. So so a devotee who Lord Chaitanya may not like to have a devotee who is pretending something, so how we can, when we see someone who is in that conditioning, so will we associate with them, or what we should do?
Well, what if another devotee sees our conditioning and does not want to associate with us? So yeah, so the point is how we see it, whether to associate or not is another thing. How do we see it is very important. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to set the right standards for everyone to follow. He wanted to establish that yes, this is not all right. But having said the rest of the Vaishnava community, they came together and supported, whether it was Chota Haridas or Kal Krishna Das, they came together, supported them and gave them services, engaged them in favorable service. But because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's had the responsibility of setting the right standards, but at the same time, the devotee community also had the responsibility of setting the right standards for those who are struggling with their conditioning. So if the devotees don't support struggling sadhakas, then who is going to support? So therefore we may not try to take association and nourishment to them, but whatever support is needed for them, we have to provide. We have to be there for them, because till anartha nivritti is completely eradicated, anyone become a victim of their condition. So especially as you rightly said, in today's day and age, with such kind of bombardment from all sides, the capacity of people to resist is very weak. So unless we come together and support each other and encourage each other, then it's going to become very difficult for all of us actually. So yes, so we have to be careful that if it is our own weakness, then we have to support each other. But if it is our own weakness, then we have to support each other. So yes, so we have to be careful that if it is our own weakness, then we have to support each other. So yes, so we have to be careful that if it is our own weakness, then we have to be a little careful, but at the same time, we should be willing to extend our helping hand to our fellow devotees who are struggling. So that is my understanding.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Krishna Nam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, in today's situation where for most of the people, except for association of pure devotees, which is very rare to come by, generally all kinds of association are available at our disposal, whether it is materialistic association or devotee association or all sorts of association are generally available. I feel that as far as I am concerned, I need a combination of associations. For example, I need an association of someone who is more advanced than me, so that I can derive his strength in progressing in devotional service. And I also need association of devotees at an equal level, where we can, I can, we feel we can enjoy that relationship also. Then I also need association of people who are less advanced, and for that also is some kind of it gives me some happiness, because I am able to share whatever I know and then help them. So a combination of all these three that I feel is more meaningful. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, all need, because Ishware prema tadadineshu maitri badisheshu kripa dvishatsu upeksha. So, we naturally want to extend ourselves. The symptom of progress is that when we see equals, we really want to have a feeling of camaraderie with them. When we see more advanced devotees, we want to take their shelter. And when we see less advanced, innocent people, we want to extend our compassion. So yeah, this is definitely, it's needed. We are who we are. Yeah, correct.
So consequently, one should we not make a choice of where we live based on this consideration, that where we can get a good mixture of all kinds of all these three types of association, that could be a better choice than being in a place where you may have a association of advanced devotees, but you may not have anyone with whom you can share your own realizations and help.
Yeah.
Isn't
It
it
is
so?
good. It's important. Yeah, equals association is very critical actually, because you can get that, you can feel empathy from them, even though the senior devotee very advanced devotee might empathize with what you're going through, but we might feel that empathy flowing from him, because we may see that, oh, he is anyway very advanced, he may not necessarily understand my struggle. One may think like that. That is why in Bhagavatam also, when it is talking about the guru-disciple relationship, 9th canto, it is mentioned that one of the first thing that the guru does when a new disciple comes to his tutelage is he puts him in the association of other disciples, rather than he himself giving all the association. And one of the reasons is that when the guru gives some instructions, if the disciple gets only the association of the guru, he may think that, oh, this instruction is very lofty, I cannot follow. The guru is a pure devotee, he may be able to follow, but I cannot follow because it is too difficult for me. So he may feel like that. But when he has the association of other god brothers, fellow disciples of his own guru, then he gets the confidence that, oh, if he could do it, then I can also. So that confidence he gets, if he could follow this instruction, maybe I can also try to follow. So that way, equals association has a very, this kind of effect, that it gives a kind of confidence to follow. When you see another equal following, then you get the confidence, maybe I can also do it, like that. Yeah, definitely equals association has a very critical. Is that okay, bro?
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. If there are no further discussion points or questions, then I think we'll move forward. So we saw the glories of sadhu-sanga. So therefore, in this context, the word janasanga is understood to mean persons who are devoid of devotion. One should avoid that association. So that is why Srila Rupa Goswami or Srila Rupa Prabhu has included the instruction to give up worldly association as one of the limbs of devotional service. Sangatyago vidurena bhagavad vimukhair janaihi. This is one of the 64 limbs of devotional service. One who desires to attain devotion to Krishna should carefully give up the association of worldly people. That means that devotees should not engage in the activities mentioned in the 4th verse of Upadeshamrita with worldly people. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is defining sangha. So, what is sangha? Sangha means preeti, affection. Okay. So, and what are the symptoms of affection, or what are the activities which nourish that affection? Dadati pratigrunnati. Okay. Guhyamakyati pritchati. Bhunkte bojayate cheva. Okay. So giving gifts, accepting gifts in return, feeding prasadam and accepting prasadam invitations in return, and opening up one's heart in confidence, and hearing that person's heart with empathy. Hearing with empathy and revealing with confidence. Revealing in confidence, revealing our heart in confidence to the other person. These 6 kinds of exchanges nourish affection. So sangha means to have meaningful exchanges, meaningful relationships. Meaningful relationships mean relationships which involve these 6 exchanges. These 6 exchanges with any person nourishes, allows the flow of emotions, allows the osmosis of emotions between the 2 individuals. But when these 6 exchanges are absent, then we may be living with thousands of people, but it is not called as sangha, whether it is with non-devotees or with devotees. So here, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is describing what is asat or what is janasanga, unfavorable association. He says, unfavorable association means to have these 6 exchanges with non-devotees. And favorable association means to have this 6 exchanges with the devotees. So if we are not having these 6 exchanges with devotees, it is not considered association. It is not considered as sangha. whether it is asat-sanga or sadhu-sanga. So it cannot be considered as asat-sanga or sadhu-sanga if the 6 exchanges are absent. So he says activities like talking with worldly people in the course of one's work is not considered association. So one may say, Prabhu, but you know what, I am working at a place where none of my colleagues are devotees. So what do? I have to take Asat Sangha. No, Asat Sangha means only when we are eager to have the 6 exchanges, when we have the 6 exchanges with eagerness, that is called as Asat Sangha or Sat Sangha, Sangha for that matter. So if we are having, our regular exchanges, what, doing the needful in a work environment with these kinds of people, that is not considered as Sangha. In the same way, if we are staying with devotees and if we are actually doing the needful to cohabit with devotees without any unnecessary friction, that kind of cohabitation with devotees is not considered as sadhu sangha. As sangha, a sangha constitutes what constitutes sangha is a conscious endeavor from the individual side to enhance the quality of relationship between the individuals. A conscious endeavor to enhance the quality. Exchanges should be meaningful exchanges. Meaningless exchanges don't constitute sangha with devotees. And with non-devotees, so with devotees, meaningless exchanges have no utility. And with non-devotees, meaningful exchanges are very dangerous. Right? And with non-devotees, meaningless exchanges won't affect. And with devotees, meaningful exchanges will create a very favorable effect. So that is the point that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making here. So if one is afraid that I am at a workplace where there are no devotees associated, what will we do? So he says, no problem. At least at your workplace, do the needful. And when you come back, then be eager to have these 6 kind of exchanges with the devotee. That is what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is mentioning here. So he says, when the same activities are done with affection for someone, then that is considered association with that person. So what constitutes association? Association means that which can transform our heart. So heart transforming association can happen only when the 6 exchanges are there. That is what he's telling. So any quick comments, discussion points, questions on this theme? Anything anyone would like to share, ask, add before we move on to discussion of that types of asat sangha? So he's going to talk about 7 kinds of asat sangha. But before we get into that topic, any quick comments, discussion points on the topic that we have discussed? Basically, we have discussed about the definition of sangha. What is the definition of sangha? What constitutes sangha? Either satsanga or asatsanga is the 6 exchanges. Any comments, questions on this topic? Okay, if there isn't, we will continue our discussion. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, every practicing devotee should know the various kinds of worldly people. Therefore, we are hereby most unwillingly enumerating these people. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, well, I have no business and no inclination and desire to talk about these kind of people. but still unwilling, I am going to speak about them. That's what he says here. These worldly people are of seven kinds. Seven kinds of worldly people. Mayavadis and atheists. He puts them in one group only. So it's not like Mayavadis, one, and atheists, another. He says, well, Mayavadis and atheists fall within the same category. Second, sense enjoyers. Third, those who are fond of sense enjoyers. Fourth, women for men and men for women. And fifth is womanizers, and whatever may be the word for those of the opposite sex. I don't know if there is a word like that. Sixth is the hypocritically devout, pashandis, those who are cheats. And the seventh are the ill-behaved, foolish outcasts. Ill-behaved, foolish outcasts. So these are the seven kinds of asat-sanga. So interestingly, okay, we will touch this topic a little later. But anyway, so these are the seven types. We are going to discuss what these seven types are. Okay. First, Mayavadis and atheists, they fall in one category. So he says, the Mayavadis do not accept the eternal name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So they don't accept the name, form, qualities, and pastimes to be eternal, or in most cases, even real. So they don't accept them to be eternal or even real for that matter. So such people are Mayavadis, and their association should certainly be avoided. So they consider the living entity as a product of Maya. Therefore, in their opinion, the living entity has no eternal existence. So this is Mayavadi understanding. They do not consider devotional service eternal. Rather, they consider it a temporary method to cultivate knowledge. So therefore, this mentality actually destroys service attitude only completely. All the Mayavadi conclusions are opposed to the principles of devotional service. Therefore, by associating with Mayavadis, one's devotion gradually disappears. See, actually, whether you take the ancient acharyas, like starting from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or even the recent acharyas with Prabhupada and all the Vartaman acharyas, if you see, they forbid association with people who have deviant ideologies, who may fall within the same religion also. So Mayavadis are, you can say, in today's day and age, Mayavadis will also fall within the category of Hindus only. Mayavadis also fall within the category of Hindus. So all the acharyas, all the bona fide acharyas, if you see in our sampradaya, they have been against deviant ideologies, but they have not taken that kind of a strict stance against any religion as such. You would never see any of our acharyas speak in terms of pro-Hindu, anti-Muslim, or anti-Christian kind of presentation. You will never see any of our acharyas make, including Srila Prabhupada. While they were opposed against ideologies, even if that ideology exists within our so-called Hinduism. So that we have to very clearly see. So in today's ISKCON, if you see, people speak in terms of religion, we should be against this religion or against that religion, then that is not a kind of stance which has ever been taken by any of our acharyas. Not that other religions did not exist during their times, not that other religions were not oppressive during their times. In fact, during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time and subsequent uh, times, actually, people were severely oppressed, but they never took a stance against a religion, but they always took stance against deviant ideologies. That has always been, even Srila Prabhupada, if you see his Pranati mantra, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini. Right? So Nirvisheshavadis and Shunyavadis are there within the Hindu sect also. Not that they are not there in the other religions, but they are there in the other religions also, but they are there within the so-called Hindu sects also. So here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is talking about Mayavadis, and the classic meaning of Mayavadis actually are those who are followers of Shankara. But so therefore we have to be very clear. What does it mean to follow the teachings of our acharyas? Many times in the name of becoming, like Vedic or pro-Vedic and things like that, we sort of dissolve this actual problematic barrier that exists between ideological barrier, and we create another non-existing barrier in the form of religion actually, which was never the stance of any of our acharyas. Because pure devotional principles are there in all religions. Similarly, these kind of deviant understanding and Mayavadi understanding is also there in the religions. It's not that Mayavadis are only Hindus. There are non-Hindu Mayavadi sects also. There could be Islamic Mayavadis, there could be Christian Mayavadis, but pure devotional things can be there in other religions also. So therefore, we have to be very clear that we don't create this false barrier in terms of religion, when our acharyas have always spoken in terms of ideologies rather than religion. So here we are talking about Mayavadis. Here Sri Swarup Damodar gave the following instruction in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he said that he's talking to, I think, Bhagavan Acharya. He says, Buddhi Brashta Hailato Mar Gopalera Sange Mayavada Shuni Bare Upajila Range Vaishnavahanya Ye Bashari Raka Bhashya Shone Sevya Sevaka Bhava Chadi Apanera Ishwara Mane. So he says, Buddhi Brashta Hatomar Gopalera Sange. So Gopal is actually the brother of Bhagavan Acharya, own brother. But he had gone to Varanasi and studied under the Mayavadis, and therefore he had developed some Mayavadi understanding. And Bhagavan Acharya really wanted, and he had written something about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gopal. And Bhagavan Acharya really wanted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to hear that glorification written by Gopal. And Swarup Damodar Goswami was here, he is chastising Bhagavan Acharya, who is also considered to be one of the closer associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, Buddhi Brashta Haila Toma Gopalera Sange. In the association of your Mayavadi brother, you have lost your intelligence. Mayavada Shunibare Upajila Range, and therefore you are very eager and enthusiastic to hear all this Mayavad. Vaishnava hanya yeba shariraka bhashya shune. Being a Vaishnava, if you start hearing this kind of shariraka bhashya, which is written by Shankaracharya, Sevya Sevaka Bhava Chadi Apanera Ishvara Mane. You are understanding, or you will become unconscious of the Sevya Sevaka Bhav that exists between the devotee and Krishna, the master servant relationship, and you will start considering yourself the Supreme Lord. So, therefore, he says that, be careful, don't associate with him too much, or don't associate with him at all, like that. So, here it's not that Gopal had changed religion. It's not that he had become an Islamic person or a Christian or anything like that. He was still a Hindu in one sense, but a deviant philosophy. But where the Savior Sevaka Bhav, the master servant relationship is dead. But in other religions, actually, if you see, also there may be such sects, but there is actually the Lord is the master, and the devotee is the servant. That understanding is there most in most of the other religions in commonly. So those who do not accept the Supreme Lord who is glorified by the Vedas are called as Nastikas or atheists. Their minds have been polluted with false arguments. Therefore, one's devotion is lost in their association. So, one has to be very careful. The problem with this association is that you start borrowing their value systems, which may be flawed. I will give you some examples. There are many organizations which are dedicated to cow protection. For example, I'm giving you an example of cow protection. So, I mean, this is not a made-up example that I'm giving, but this is a real example. So, cow protection is very good. I'm not against cow protection. Cow protection is very good, very dear to Krishna. So we do appreciate people who protect the cows. So, but many times these organizations which are dedicated to cow protection are mostly, in one sense, their ideologies are deviant. So they say many times that our favorite god is Krishna. Why? Because Krishna protects the cows. This is their understanding. So, which means they are not dedicated to Krishna. They are not Vasudeva Parayan. They are not Narayana Parayan. They are Go Parayan. But there is a difference in us. We are Narayana Parayana or Vasudeva Parayan. And because the cow is dear to Krishna, we worship cows. And if some other animal is dear to Krishna, then we would worship that animal. Okay. So, so while these other people are involved in cow protection, I'm just giving an example. I'm not telling that whoever is cow protection have this kind of understanding. I'm just giving an example. So, but most people who fall within this category have this understanding that, for them, worshipping Krishna is in one sense secondary to worshipping cows. So, so therefore, according to them, whoever is not worshipping cows or doing active cow protection, they are useless. So while protecting the cows is one of the is one of the limbs of devotional activities, is one of the devotional activities. It is not the only devotional activity. When we associate with more and more with these people, very subtly this conception that, of all the activities, actively serving and protecting the cows is the topmost. That kind of an understanding we get. And when we see devotees engaged in hearing and chanting, we think that these people are doing, they are not involved in any practical service. And then very slowly but steadily, we develop alternate role models. And those role models are not devotees. And from the vision of those alternate role models, devotees, we see devotees as being not living up to the standard. These people are doing impractical things all the time, sitting and just wasting time by hearing and chanting. We will start seeing devotees that way. So therefore, the problem with associating with people with different ideologies is that we will borrow their ideologies, and then we will start seeing devotees with that borrowed ideology, with that borrowed ideology, or that borrowed, uh, you can say, value system. And then we will see that devotees are not actually that valuable. Their association is not that valuable. And these devotees are not actually very advanced, because already we have borrowed their definition of advancement. What is their definition of advancement? One who is actively serving the cows. He is really advanced. One who is hearing and chant, or sitting or worshipping the deities, he is not doing anything practical. This is not a made up example that I am telling you. This is something that practically has happened and is happening. So therefore, we have to be careful. So this is actually about Mayavadis and atheists, like that. Any quick comments, discussion points, questions on this topic theme? Anything anyone would like to share, ask, add? Okay. There is one question in the chat box. I'll take that first. How to not get influenced by such people, which is atheists, karmis, jnanis, if they are close family members? Well, I mean, we have to, this is not very difficult. You may have affection for that person, but you may not have affiliation to his ideology. I think this happens in every family. You have people in the same family affected with each other, but not sharing their ideology. So we have to be very clear. So we do have role models. Okay. In one family, one's father can be the role model for many things, for the way he provides for the family, for the way he has taken responsibility for various things in the family. But that same father may not necessarily be the role model for devotional service. It is possible. And that role model can be one's grandfather, it may be one's mother, it may be one's cousin sister, cousin brother. So one should be very clear. So we can have different role models for different things. So not that we have nothing to learn from the non-devotees, but just that we have to, if they are close family members whom we cannot avoid, then you should know very clearly that for what purpose do I have him or her as my role model. That's all. So, and I think for when that clarity is there, then there is no need to get really affected in their association. So we don't stick with family members for ideology. Because the affection mostly transcends ideology. But when we associate with other organizations which are ideologically driven, then it is very difficult to not get affected by their ideology. So that is the point. So even though once, yeah, I think the point is conveyed. Is that okay, Mataji? Does it address your question, or is there more to it then? Okay. Anuradha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. Please accept my humble obeisances. Prabhu, when you said that the story of Gopal and Bhagwan Das's brother, right? Was he earlier a devotee and then getting the influence of Mayavadi, he became Mayavadi? The reason I ask, because we have heard many stories where Mayavadi turned into a devotee, but a devotee becoming a Mayavadi, that's like another story, and it's like a little dangerous, because often I have heard speakers saying that has never happened, or like that. Do you understand my question, Prabhu?
I very much understand your question.
Yes.
And I have seen many people this. I have seen many people quote this.
Yes.
But in reality, if that was a no-brainer and it never ever happens, then why would the acharyas so severely warn against the association of Mayavadis?
Yes. Mahaprabhu
So
himself
this
said
is,
Mayavad.
yeah, Bhashishunile Hai Sarvanash.
Sarvanash.
He did say that. So and if you carefully observe, especially if those who are with little indiscriminately associating with such people, you will see very clearly that over a period of time they start judging devotees. So I have seen this happening. Like this one example that I give. This devotee was like, "Arey, hum," it was like in the beginning. It was like, "Wow, these people are doing good job." These cow protecting people, they are doing a really wonderful job. Then after some months, it was like, we should also be doing like that. They are doing wonderful job. We should also be doing that. And then after a few months, it was, oh, why are we not doing like this? We are useless. And then after a few months, it was, oh, why are you people not doing this? You see, why are we not doing this? And after a few months, it was, why are you people not doing? Which means he is no longer one of us. He is no longer identifying himself as one of us. He is identifying himself as one of them. That's all. Right?
Yes,
so this happens, and I have seen this. So, and then after that starts wholesale criticism of devotees. Vaishnavananda. These people are just bol bachan. They just know how to sit and speak on the Vyasasana. They don't do anything practical. कुछ भी हो तो जपमाला लेके बैठ जाते हैं. So these kind of statements start flowing very freely. When it comes to practical things, they don't do anything. Tell me how many cows they have protected. These kind of things, which means that's it. So
I get it.
So like that.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask, because sometimes when you serve the Vyasa, you say things, but it should also it should be truth and not just because it sounds good. It has to be true too, right? So that's why I was asking
Yeah.
about it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Dhanwad,
Hare Krishna.
Pranam, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay, anything else before we move ahead? So this is about the first type, which is Mayavadis and atheists, like that. So then the second type uh, of unfavorable association is the association of sense enjoyers. Association with sense enjoyers is harmful because as I was responding to Mother Gail's question, that it sort of removes the guilt from our temptations. So when we see others, when you like to eat something which is forbidden, and you see someone very, without any guilt eating that, enjoying it, then our own guilt for indulging in that forbidden activity becomes very low. And then it becomes, then we may start more freely indulging in that. That is the problem. So those who are always busy associating with sense enjoyment are filled with blasphemy, envy, and violence. Because ultimately, mm, mm, if you have to, if you don't do it, if you don't blaspheme those who are not indulging, then there will not be a significant validation for what we are doing. So quarrel, argument, and hankering for sense enjoyment is their life. The more they enjoy, the more their thirst for enjoyment increases. The sense enjoyers do not get time to speak or hear topics of Krishna, because sense enjoyment, the activities of sense enjoyment keeps them completely engaged. Whether they engage in pious activities or sinful activities, the sense enjoyers always remain far from the knowledge of the self. Whether it is pious sense enjoyment or impious sense enjoyment, that those activities of sense enjoyment actually keep them away from asking the questions about progressing on the path of devotional service. Therefore, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Vishayira anna khaile malina hayaman, malina mana haile nahe Krishnera smaran. So, one way of associating with sense enjoyers is to eat the food which is cooked by them or offered by them. When one eats food offered by a materialistic man, Vishayira Anna Kaile, what happens? Malina Hayaman. One's mind becomes contaminated. Malina Mana Haile Nahe Krishna Rasmaran. And when the mind is contaminated, one is unable to think of Krishna properly. It is not possible. Right? Those persons who externally engage in sensual activities and accept sense objects just to maintain body and soul together, but internally engage in their constitutional position as friends of Krishna, are not counted amongst the sense enjoyers who are attached to the fruits of their activities. Okay, someone may be externally engaged in sensual activities, like we see the case of Prataparudra Maharaj. So we see the case of Prataparudra Maharaj. He was a king, and he was receiving a lot of kind of opulences and everything, but internally, but he was just accepting them as a matter of duty. But but internally he was engaged in serving Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So so just because someone has lot of facilities and objects of enjoyment does not give him a sense enjoyer. The sense enjoyers and persons fond of sense enjoyers are both worldly minded. So if we appreciate them, then that is also worldly mindedness, because we don't have an understanding of what is good and what is bad. So worldly minded. So because if we don't see that as being bad, then when we get an opportunity, then we would not think twice before indulging in that same activity. So therefore, appreciation of sense enjoyers is also worldly mindedness, because by appreciating them, we are actually sharing their value system. So then what exactly is the only thing that is differentiating between them and us is the opportunity to enjoy. While they have the opportunity to enjoy, we may not have it. But by appreciating them, we are indicating that if I have an opportunity to enjoy, then I would enjoy too. And I wish to have an opportunity to enjoy. That is what it means. Okay. Any quick discussion points, comments, questions, anything anyone would like to share, ask, add on this topic? Okay. If there is none, then we will. Okay. Anuradha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, yeah. On that you're saying that, when we appreciate, and also sometimes as a devotee, coming to the point of discrimination, we might be seeing some devotee doing few things. I'll just take an example of chocolate. It is easier. It's coming to my mind. It's not that I'm giving a verdict or something. I'm just saying, suppose I don't eat chocolate, and I see some other devotee eating chocolate, and I realize this is not what it's supposed to, and I don't appreciate. But at the same time, that's giving me a discrimination. But at the same time, that might give me a pride that I'm a better devotee. That, oh look, this devotee is eating chocolate and I'm not. So how to be in the middle and not judge, and yet understand this is not for me, at least, especially to chocolate. Not talking about meat, etc. Do you know what? Am I clear,
Yeah.
Prabhu?
Yeah. The first thing is we have to understand how to be non-judgmental, because we can learn to give the benefit of doubt to the devotee, that maybe the devotee is convinced that eating chocolate is inappropriate, but because maybe he has a strong attachment to eating chocolate, that's why he has succumbed to it unwillingly. So we can give that benefit of doubt to the devotee. Or another way of avoiding judgmentalism is, uh, uh, he is attached to eating chocolate, and I am attached to so many other things also which are not favorable for Krishna consciousness. And the way I am going to treat him in a judgmental or non-judgmental way, that is exactly the way people are going to treat me for my own attachment, non-Krishna conscious attachment. So we can, because Krishna will, if we judge others for their succumbing to their attachments, then we can definitely expect the same from other people whenever we succumb to our own attachments, non-Krishna conscious attachments in our Krishna consciousness. So we can think that if I am trying to be understanding, and if I am trying to be non-judgmental, and if I am willing to give that person the benefit of doubt, then I can expect the same for others when I am struggling. So that way we can.
Yeah. For me, I think the second one makes more sense, because seeing other conditioning and being compassionate towards it is more difficult than seeing my own conditioning and being compassionate towards me. But thank you, Prabhu. Beautiful answer. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anything else anyone would like to share? ask? Okay, if there is none, then we will move on to the third type of unfavorable association, which is persons who are fond of sense enjoyers. Persons who are fond of sense enjoyers are themselves also sense enjoyers because they always think of sense enjoyment within their heart. There are some people who are themselves not sense enjoyers, but they take pleasure in associating with sense enjoyers. Their association should also be renounced because they will soon become sense enjoyers and bad association themselves. Right? As we said, what differentiates between them and active sense enjoyers is the opportunity. That's all. So he says there are two types of sense enjoyers: those who are extremely attached to sense enjoyment and devotees who are attached to sense enjoyment. Okay, so there are two types of sense enjoyers. Okay, you can say materialistic sense enjoyers. Okay, and the second is devotees who are attached to sense enjoyment. Okay, these are the two types of sense enjoyers. Associating with those who are extremely attached should be totally rejected. So which means this first type should be totally rejected. Now, the devotees who are attached to sense enjoyment are also of two types. So devotees attached to sense enjoyment are of two types. Okay. The first type are those who have included the Lord as a part of their sense enjoyment. So Lord is a part of their sense enjoyment. And those who have kept the Lord in the center of their sense enjoyment. Lord is the center of their sense enjoyment. Okay. So the difference is that in the first type, they are very clear as to what they want to enjoy. And they will use the Lord as a person who would validate their sense enjoyment. Whatever it is, I will purchase something from outside, I will offer it to Krishna and eat. Okay, I've offered it. So the Lord is merely seen as a purifying factor rather than a person needs to be served. So so this is one type. This is also a devotee, at least he is offering it to Krishna and he sees that it needs to be offered to Krishna. So he has material attachments, but at the same time, he has included the Lord as a part of his sense enjoyment. Whereas the second type of devotee is one who also has not given up his material attachments, but at the same time, he is willing to put the Lord at the center of his sense enjoyment. Okay, so he wants to live a comfortable life. He likes to live a comfortable life in a good house, but in that house, he has given the best place for the Supreme Lord. Okay, and the best food is cooked for the Supreme Lord, and the Lord gets his bhoga exactly right at the time. Right at proper time, the Lord gets his bhoga. and he partakes of the remnants. Okay. So even this person has not completely given up desire for sense gratification, but then this is definitely better. The one who has the Lord at the center of his sense gratification. This kind of a devotee is better than one who has put the Lord as a part of his sense gratification. So he says there are two kinds of sense enjoyers: materialistic sense enjoyers and devotees who are attached to sense enjoyment. Of the two, we choose the devotees who are attached to sense enjoyment. But of the devotees who are attached to sense enjoyment, there are two classes of people, the two classes of devotees. The first class is a devotee who has included the Lord as a part of his sense enjoyment. And the second is one who has accepted the Lord as the center of his sense enjoyment. So association with the latter type is preferable to association with the former. So if there is a choice of these two kinds of devotees, the second type, associating with the second type, is preferable. Although those who engage in sense enjoyment according to religious codes are better than sinful sense enjoyers, still the practicing devotee should not associate with them until they become devotees. Okay. Someone may say that, oh, someone is a Vedic sense enjoyer. He's following the tenets of the Vedas, and according to that, he is enjoying. It doesn't matter. Unless he is practicing devotee, his association should not be sought. So, simply by wearing the dress of a renunciate, one does not become a devotee free from sense gratification, because renunciates often collect and save objects of sense enjoyment. So, if they are premature renunciates who are actually not qualified for that position, they may often end up collecting and saving objects of sense enjoyment, which is not recommended. On the other hand, many persons resemble sense enjoyers but utilize every the worship of Lord Hari in the mode of detachment. So you must have observed, many are actually householders, but they have a more powerful sense of detachment than actually those in the renounced order. Actually, you see in the case of uh, the life of Ramanujacharya, you see the case of Dhanurdas, who was a householder. In fact, prior to entering the householder ashram, he was attached to a prostitute. Hmm. So, uh, so, but after taking shelter of Sri Ramanujacharya, he had developed such a powerful sense of detachment that Ramanujacharya wanted to teach his so-called renunciate disciples a lesson. So one day he sort of took their uh, he stole some parts of their simple clothes. They had some kaupin and one dhoti and some uttariya. So he stole a part of the kaupin, someone an uttariya of someone else, like that. And then everyone started fighting with each other the next day morning. Who you have stolen, you have stolen, you have stolen, like that. It was such a mess. It was such an embarrassing situation. And then Ramanujacharya pacified them. And then the next day, he asked Dhanurdas to sit with him and hear Krishna Katha. And then he told, see, this Dhanurdas thinks that he's a very exalted devotee, so very detached. So let us, let us really prove what kind of detachment he has. So his wife must be sleeping in her room. She is wearing she has decorated herself with a lot of ornaments. So while she is sleeping, you slowly start removing the jewelry from her body. And then when Dhanurdas goes back, we will see his reaction. So this was happening. So they stole all the jewels from one side of the body of his wife, who was also a very great devotee. And then, but she was not sleeping, she was awake. And when she thought that, okay, they have stolen everything from one side, I will slowly pretend to naturally turn to the other side so that they can steal from the other side also. So when she tried moving, turning, then they thought that she had woken up and they ran away. And then after some time, Dhanurdas came and all of them were standing outside and observing his reaction. So he sees her and he asks, how is it that you have jewelry only on one side of your body and not the other side? And she said, oh, the disciples of Ramanujacharya, probably they have some essential problems. Uh, so maybe there is some shortage of funds for their ashram. So they came to take some jewelry. So after they had taken everything from one side, I wanted to give the other side jewelry also, by tried turning. They got afraid and they ran away. So then Dhanurdas, when he heard this explanation, he became very upset with her and he said, you are such an arrogant person. You thought uh, everything belongs to you. Actually, don't you know that our whole life is actually a bhiksha of our Guru Maharaj? If the Guru Maharaj needs, you should have gotten up and removed everything and given it to them voluntarily. But you still had this mentality that all of that belong to you. So, you're fit to be criticized like that. And when the disciples of Ramanujacharya were observing this, they were wondering, my God, he is such an exalted soul. We were just fighting for some torn kopin and torn dhotis and uttariya. And and here is a person who is having such level of detachment. So therefore, uh, many persons may resemble sense enjoyers, but they may utilize everything in the worship of Lord Hari in the mode of detachment. Considering all this, the practicing devotee should give up the association of sense enjoyers and those fond of them and engage in devotional service in a secluded place, or if he is fortunate, in the association of genuine devotees. So this is about the third type of unfavorable association, which is the association of persons who are fond of sense enjoyers. Any quick comments, discussion points, questions, anything anyone would like to share? Ask. Yes, Mother Gail.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Yes. I had trouble catching the distinction between the two types of devotees who involve Krishna in their attachments, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
There's one who, because in both cases, there is attachment to the sense object for their own enjoyment. Mm-hmm. In both cases. And so that the first case, especially, like I said, I don't see so much distinction. I didn't catch it.
Well, in the first case, there is no tangible concern for Krishna as a person. There is no tangible relationship with Krishna, while there is a very faint understanding that unoffered things are not very good. So it is not about, not for unoffered things are not good for me. And there is no concern for, oh, Krishna has not eaten me. You see? So yes. There is no tangible sense of relationship developed with Krishna. So, but in the second case, even though the desire to enjoy is not completely gone, but the the concern for Krishna has manifested in a more tangible way. So therefore, he
Yeah.
is willing to put Krishna at the center of his sense gratification, like that.
Very nice, very clear. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anything else anyone would like to share? Add? Okay. If there is none, I think it's time we will pause now and continue this discussion next Wednesday. So thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. We'll continue this discussion next Wednesday. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Pad ki jai. Ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.